What's going on YouTube? So the CX-5 is Mazda's most important product, and this year we finally got a new one. Now, we previously reviewed the mid-level and loaded models, but today we're spending time with one of the very base trim levels, the Select. So, does it offer a lot for about $32,000? Well, let's go ahead and find out. And let's start out with a quick spec dump. So under the hood, this trim gets the same engine as all CX-5s. It's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine making 187 horsepower. It's paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, has standard all-wheel drive, and the combined fuel economy is 26 mpg.
Now the base price for all CX-5s is a little under 30 grand, and this trim level starts at under $32,000. If you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we'd also encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we're taking this out for a spin a little bit later on, but first we need to shut up the hood and see what you get on the outside and inside.
Now, jumping into the exterior design, we can see up here in the front, of course, you've got that all-new CX-5 design. It's a bit of an evolution over the previous generation, but this is about a half an inch wider overall, which gives it a better, more planted stance. Now, I'm happy to report that this Select trim level, this affordable model, does come with pretty much the same design as all the rest of the trims, including that signature grille. Also, very similar is the fact that we have these super nice LED headlights. So you can see we've got that projector LED headlight, you've got the 2 daytime running lights right through there, and then you have your turn signal indicator down there below. The thing that you're missing from the top model is the adaptive abilities, but you don't really expect to see that, of course, at this price point. And as we walk around to the back, we see that kind of elevated and more sophisticated look for the new generation.
Absolutely, and as far as individual design touches, let's break those down. We have the spoiler up here at the top, the rear window wiper, Mazda spelled out across the back for this new generation. And let's take a look at our taillights, because for a relatively affordable model like this, I'm very happy to tell you get fully LED taillights. That's actually standard across the board. The only thing that's different is that you don't get the accent light that goes all the way across the back, but really a very premium lighting unit. And then down here at the bottom, all of this is going to be a matte black plastic. You do still keep the dual exposed exhaust outlets, and the tow capacity comes in at 1,500 pounds.
Now the wheels here are going to be one place where you will be able to tell this is a lower end model from the exterior. You can see that we've got a 17-inch alloy on board as opposed to your higher end examples which come with 19-inch alloys. This has a simple gray finish overall, and then you have a matte black finish for your wheel arch surrounds and lower body moldings. But as far as the mirrors are concerned, I think you're going to be super impressed with what Mazda is throwing in. In addition to the premium gloss black finish, you have standard heating, standard blind spot monitoring, and you even have power folding abilities on this trim level.
Now here at the side of the CX-5, it comes in at 184 inches, which is up around 4 inches as compared to the previous CX-5 model. Now in terms of design, we do have blacked out window surrounds, but one of the things that the base and Select models miss out on are the roof rails. I definitely think that kind of increases your design quite a bit, so that's something I do miss. Now when it comes to your safety systems though, you get every single one of those as standard equipment. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control. Now the one caveat to that is you don't get the lane change assist, which is only included on the top end example. But guys, I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised with what you find on the inside. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. All right, now let's see what we get on the inside. First, here's our key fob. This is the trim that introduces the smart entry system with Mazda's typical key fob, meaning you can just grab behind the handle that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. Now, checking inside this interior, you can see we've got this brand new design. And before we kind of go through all of the individual things that you can expect to see on the Select trim, I want to start by talking about the seats. So the Select is one step from the very base model. That one additional step is what gets you the leatherette trimming you see around these cloth seats. So you've got that kind of partial leatherette and cloth design. You can also get this in white or the black you see today. One thing it will not get you though is a power adjusting seat. So you still have the full manual adjustment. Let's go ahead and climb inside. Now let's close up the door and look at the rest of the cabin materials. You're probably wondering how much of it is retained from the higher end trims. Well, I'm happy to say you still get quite a lot. So over here on the door trim, we have the full leatherette covering. This is a very padded armrest as well. You have leatherette that runs all through the center section with a stitched detail. The top part of the door trim is hard touch, but by the way, all of them have the hard touch upper door trim, even the loaded model for the new generation. Soft touch upper dashboard, full leatherette covering through the center section with stitching details, and then it will be hard touch down here along the center, but everything does fit together very solidly as you expect for the Mazda brand. So this is a good quality interior, certainly for the price point. Let's fire it up with the push button start. You get a little animation and sound effect as well. Now, as we jump into some individual features and details, I think you'll continue to be fairly impressed. That starts with the digital gauge cluster. This is a standard feature on all CX-5s, and you can use the button on the steering wheel to adjust some of your different designs overall. It's good and high quality. Also, while Mason's kind of framed up like this, it's a good time to point out that, like in the past, all Mazdas come with the standard rain sensing wipers. Moving back to the steering wheel, we've got the new Mazda design with the updated logo. We have some of the controls being kind of touch capacitive this year, but everything is laid out pretty easy to understand. The wheel itself will be manual tilt and telescoping. Moving to interior storage, we have the split opening console, and inside you'll find 8 donuts. So this test here, it does have one of the lower options in the segment in terms of overall storage. Since this console is kind of shallow overall, it doesn't fit that many donuts compared to the competition. In front of that, you have your wireless phone charging pad included on this Select trim level. And then you have some additional storage up there in the front with your 2 cup holders. The shifter is a very traditional design. Pull back for drive, bump over here if you want to control the shifts manually. There are no paddle shifters on the steering wheel except on the top models. And then up here at our traditional backup camera, now that we're in reverse, we have active trajectory, which is certainly nice since some of Mazda's previous products, and some that are on sale right now, don't have the active trajectory on most models. You can also change for a couple different views. Then you have your electronic parking brake with auto brake hold right next to that. And then really that just kind of brings us into the display area, because a lot of your functions are now inside of this large central display. I know this has been one of the more controversial elements of this all new generation of CX-5. And in terms of what you get with the Select trim, this gives you the smaller but still large display. This is about 12 inches in its overall size. You can go up to 15.6 inches as your maximum option, but this is honestly bigger than what a lot of the competition includes, even on their loaded examples. Now, we'll start at the bottom and kind of move our way up. You'll see that the climate controls are integrated inside of the screen now. That means our dual zone system. You'll have to tap into the screen here to change your temperature, your fan speed adjustments, and things like that will be located right in there. You know, overall, the touch points are a little bit on the small side, but it's pretty easy to get used to. And also inside of this display is the fact that we have a volume slider, or you can, of course, use the control on the steering wheel. Let's sample the standard 8-speaker sound system that you get on this Select. Alright, so overall sound quality of this system is pretty good, especially for the basic sound system. I think it has a good amount of bass to it and a pretty full sound. Now, kind of going back to the display, this has an all-new software on board, and in addition to just kind of looking prettier in general, it has a lot of new functions. So the big things that you will get: wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. You also have Google Apps built into the display itself. So that means you have things like Google Maps, your Google Play Store, News Assistant, all of those things, YouTube, they're natively inside of the display itself. Definitely a nice feature to have included, and it is in this select trim as well. Now, we've got a detailed breakdown of this all-new system on the channel if you want to learn about all the features that you have built in. Now, up top, I'm surprised to see that we've got an auto-dimming rear view mirror, but we do not get a sunroof on this select trim.
Now, regardless of what CX-5 trim level you select, you're going to have a big increase in terms of overall practicality here in the rear. So let's go ahead and talk about these space figures first and foremost. So what we're sitting at is about 40 inches of legroom and about 40 inches of headroom. Those are going to be very good numbers for the segment. They're not necessarily class leading. However, it is definitely, not like the smallest option in the segment, that is for sure. Now, this seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", and I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. Now, the reason I do that is to get a realistic knee room figure, and what we're sitting at is about 9.5 inches of knee space. That's quite a bit bigger than something like a CX-50 within Mazda's own lineup, and you also have room for your feet to slide up underneath of the seats. Speaking of the seats, they are very comfortable back here, and they have the leatherette and cloth detailing. We also have the fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders inside. And let's talk about other features that Mazda is including. So here in the center, you do get the vents. So that's a pretty nice feature for this select model. However, one thing you are missing out on is the USB ports. You have to go up at least one more trim level to get the USB ports here in the rear. As far as the door trim, it's going to be hard touch on the upper part, just like the front. However, the center section is still covered in a leatherette, just without the stitching detail, and you have a padded armrest portion as well. There's a little bit of door storage down in the bottom as well. And then if you take a look at the door, I do want to point out it opens really nice and wide, which is a practical feature for families. Walking up to the tailgate, unfortunately, this is just going to be the manual tailgate. You go one more trim level up, and that's going to give you the power one. You can also get hands-free on the loaded example. And what about the overall cargo capacity? So just like the second row, they have increased that for the new generation. 33 cubic feet of space behind the second row, 66 cubic feet if you fold those seats down, which, by the way, they have made it really easy. They fold 40-20-40 split folding, and you have those handles right there to give you that full 66 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Now, once again, that is not class leading. However, it's a big improvement over what they had before. And speaking of all of its rivals, such as the Honda CR-V and RAV4, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/vehicle rankings, because on there we've looked at all the compact crossovers and ranked them in individual categories like cargo space, interior luxury, technology, powertrain choices, value, and you can see the best options in each of those categories depending on what's most important to you. This is a very competitive segment, so if you want to make an informed buying decision, that would be a good idea to check out. Now, back to the CX-5, let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length, we're looking at right at 6 foot, 72 inches of length behind Drew's driving position. From behind the second row, about 37 inches. Opening is 44 inches wide, and the height's going to be really actually pretty good. A little over 30 inches as far as your height, and let's get the load-in height. 29 inches, so that's also pretty solid. Now, underneath of the floor, there is a spare tire, so that's something that a lot of the rivals are actually working on eliminating. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Mazda CX-5. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like a sound level reading, but first, we need to start with a hard acceleration.
Okay, that is 60 miles per hour with the new CX-5. So, like we talked about at the very beginning, all of the models, no matter which trim you choose, for now just come with a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. It has 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. Now, in terms of how that compares to the competitive set, it is going to be kind of on the lower end of the segment at this point, even for a standard powertrain option. Overall acceleration, not super fast, again, kind of on the slower side of the segment.
Yeah, that's for sure. That, kind of showed you when you really floor it, it doesn't really get a ton faster other than like half throttle acceleration there. And I will say that more power would be, I think, appreciated. Now, the 0 to 60 is sitting right around 9.6 seconds, so that's also going to once again be on the slower side for the segment. And I do really, hope that Mazda would maybe add the turbo variant, and especially a hybrid, I think, would be really welcome here for the CX-5, although I will say that I think Mazda has confirmed they will make a hybrid. It's just not available right now.
Yeah, that's the thing with this powertrain, is actually Mazda has tuned it where when you do like a quarter throttle, it honestly feels just as fast as if you floor it all the way.
Honestly.
It's kind of funny, but in that regard, it kind of feels like, relatively spunky in that kind of everyday driving around town. Let's talk about the transmission as well. This also is part of Mazda's kind of older powertrain arrangement. It's a 6-speed automatic transmission. Overall, nice and smooth transmission, a little slow, of course, and 6 speeds is a little less than what the competition is generally offering, although some of the rivals have continuously variable transmission, so you might prefer this traditional experience.
Yeah, and as far as how power is routed to the ground, one of the nice things about the CX-5 is that it is all-wheel drive exclusive. That's standard equipment across the board, even here on the Select trim. That means your overall fuel economy figure will be sitting at 26 mpg, which I don't have to tell you is lower than the competition. It's even lower than some of the, traditional gas options that you can get in other rivals, probably because of that older 6-speed transmission that they have on board. But let's go ahead and get things like our sound level reading so we can see how quiet this CX-5 is. I'll go ahead and toggle us to fan speed 1 and we can get that reading. Very nicely done. 54.5 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading in the CX-5. We can check out all of our sound level readings at carconfections.com and see how it compares, but I can go ahead and tell you that is going to be actually very quiet for the segment. That's much better than something like a Honda CR-V that you could be cross-shopping, and it's very similar to that of some of the fully loaded CX-50 models that we've also tested out.
Now, one of the big adjustments for the all-new CX-5, regardless of the trim level, is how Mazda tuned the suspension. So what they went with the new generation is something maybe a little bit more pleasing to the average customer in this segment, and that's more ride quality enhancements and a little less on the driving dynamics. So what you get is a much more pleasing ride quality when you're kind of going down a bumpier road surface like what we're doing right now. You don't feel as jarred around as you used to in the previous generation. That being said, like I was mentioning, the sharpness of the handling is tuned down just a little bit. It's not, unpleasant to drive. It certainly does still have that fun to drive Mazda characteristic. And I think this is pretty smart trade-off because you're really trying to appeal to, the RAV4, the CR-V buyers, which always balance that a little bit better.
Yeah, I will 100% agree with that. I also want to point out the seats are a big improvement as well. They're a lot more comfortable, even here with the half cloth and half leatherette seat. But what about our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball, our favorite and least favorite element? Drew, go ahead and kick us off with the Slam Dunk.
Slam Dunk's got to be the value of what you're getting here. We were really curious to test this trim out because, you never really know with a new model. The media is provided usually with fully loaded examples, but you don't know kind of what are the trims that people most buy. What do those come with? Is it still impressive overall with the fit and finish, things like that? And I have to say, Mazda really didn't change all that much going to a more affordable price point. So you certainly could buy this and I think, have a really nice experience.
Yeah, now on the flip side, our airball is just going to be the powertrain. It's not that this base engine is awful, but I really do feel like for this new generation, it desperately needs a hybrid, and it needed a hybrid from launch. This is definitely on the slow side. The fuel economy is pretty, not great for this segment. If you're looking at the main rivals, RAV4 and CR-V, the vast majority of people are choosing hybrids or locked into buying hybrids, and that's going to be a big con for this vehicle. Now, the whole point of this video, we were talking about the affordable Select model. So we started a little under $32,000, and you can see the full lineup of prices on the screen right now. But really, a lot of the models are more affordable than the rivals, even the fully loaded examples. Now, like I said, this is the CX-5 Select all-wheel drive. $31,990 is what you're starting at. We do have a handful of accessories as well as optional paint. $14,995 destination. We're sitting at $34,795 as tested today, although you could knock a few of those off, I would believe. As far as where it's manufactured, it is manufactured in Japan. And if you're looking to buy a CX-5 or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing dealership negotiation. You can check all of that out as well as our monthly payment calculator on our website, carconfections.com. But what about Mazda's resale reliability and warranty? First up, let's talk about resale value. Mazda as a brand is rated at 59.44% of estimated retained value after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 25.3%. Now, it's worth noting those are very good resale value percentages. It's actually one of the very best brands on every spectrum that we look at.
Now, we also calculate reliability with our combined reliability index. With the latest 2026 data, Mazda is rated below the overall industry average against all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to visit carconfections.com. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and unfortunately, Mazda does not do complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-5 Select. If you enjoyed hearing about this trim level, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. We strive to cover all the trim levels and give you all the information to make an informed buying decision on Car Confections, so you do yourself a favor and subscribe down below. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.